When asked if he loves her, the guy realizes that he's never experienced anything like this before. He understands this feeling started from the very moment they met, musing that love comes in many forms, not just between a man and a woman. He's troubled by Yumin's insistence on getting married soon. He knows he can't say no to her, but he's dead set on getting to the bottom of it if anything goes wrong. He's ready to confess his love to her every single day if that's what she wants to hear, and to spend his whole life thanking her for her kindness. Meanwhile, in the cafe, they're served a Christmas drink. While the girl gazes at it with delight, her companion offers only a reserved thank you. Two girls in the cafe are gossiping about a celebrity scandal when they spot Yumin and her companion at the next table, immediately assuming they're dating. While one of them is already speculating about a possible wedding, Yumin herself is mentally trying to calm down, convincing herself that she can handle all of this. She reminds herself how worthless she felt in the past and snapping out of her thoughts. She looks the guy dead in the eye and asks if he really wants to marry her. He answers with pure joy that for him, this is an incredible stroke of luck. She thinks to herself that his words had always been so sweet, and that's exactly why she fell for him. She remembers how she could have never imagined things turning out this way. Back when another guy was confessing his love to her, telling her he was only like that with her, Yumin abruptly snatches her hand away and, as if she's finally decided what to do, she tells the guy with a cold smile that she's simply bored of him. She mentally hopes that her every word, both the sweet ones and the cruel ones, will make him hurt just as badly as she once did. The girl orders him to forget about the wedding, as everyone in the cafe watches stunned, while the guy gets brutally rejected right on Christmas Day. Utterly bewildered, all he can do is ask why so suddenly. Looking him straight in the eye, she begins her answer. She declares that a wonderful girl like her has no business being with him. He's boring, she says, and as everyone knows, human hearts are fickle. Amidst the complete chaos in the cafe, she finishes him off with one last question. Wasn't the 6 years she wasted on him more than enough? She declares, with no room for argument, that this is the end. The scene then jumps 3 months into the future. On the street, some couple is goofing around. The girl is laughing, making a heart with her hands, as her boyfriend clumsily tries to copy her. Yumin, walking past, hurries to get away as the two of them start whispering about her behind her back, calling her a ghost. She just thinks sarcastically, what a cute couple. Her sarcasm, however, quickly turns to envy. They really do look cute together, and she still hasn't been able to pull herself together. She reflects on how a relationship that lasted for years lost all its meaning in a single instant, and her thoughts drift away to her office. Back in the present, she apologizes to her colleagues for being late, explaining that she stopped by an exhibition hall and the market. A colleague tells her she looks terrible and needs to get some rest. Yumin agrees to go to the break room, but only after she finishes a recording. Behind her back, her colleagues discuss her exhaustion and the company's potential problems, having no idea that she's lying just beyond the wall, hearing every word. She blames herself for being the kind of boss who makes everyone worry, and scoffs at how stupid it is to be suffering over an ex that she herself dumped. She can't let the company she worked so damn hard to build be destroyed over her personal bullshit, and she resolves to force herself to rest. Her angry thoughts about how much she's losing because of her ex are cut short when her colleague enters the room and asks how she's feeling. Yumin jerks upright, insisting she's fine, but her colleague, holding out a cup of tea, says she understands and that Yumin had really given her a scare. She begs Yumin not to overwork herself, saying she knew she would throw herself into her job after the breakup, while Yumin mentally rejoices over her favorite tea. And as her colleague fusses over her and Yumin tries to keep thoughts of her ex at bay, the colleague suddenly calls out her name with sharp determination. The colleague suggests they go unwind that evening at a party hosted by her influencer friend, Soyoung, who's giving away free bags. Yumin readily agrees. When she hears it's also the friend's birthday, Yumin gets even more excited about the idea, deciding that an event like this is definitely not one to be missed. They arrive at a packed club and are immediately greeted by the birthday girl herself. They give her a present and wish her a happy birthday. Soyoung tells them to help themselves to drinks and have fun, but just as the colleague is about to head to the bar, Yumin suddenly asks her to wait a moment. She says she needs to pop over to the restroom, and while her colleague goes to save them some seats, some guy in the very same club starts a live stream. While Yumin soaks in the party atmosphere, her colleague enthusiastically points out how many social media celebrities are all around them. Yumin finds a spot and feels a jolt of energy from the club's noisy vibe, filled with snippets of other people's excited conversations. She notices a guy sitting all by himself and decides to talk to him, but when she asks if he's a friend of the birthday girl, she gets a short, flat no. Figuring he's just reserved with strangers, she introduces herself and tries to start a conversation about the food. but the guy remains just as tight-lipped. Her rising anger at being ignored is cut short by the guy himself, who finally turns to her with an icy glare and asks her to please stop talking to him. Before she can even decide to never speak to him again, the guy abruptly leans in so close that she cries out in surprise. He asks her point-blank if they've met before, which completely throws her for a loop since she's sure she's never seen him in her life. The guy keeps guessing, wondering if she's an actress or a singer, while simultaneously asking himself if she's flirting with him or just mistook him for someone else. She, on the other hand, thinks his attempt to start a conversation is terribly old-fashioned, but immediately admits that for guys this handsome, even a bad pickup line isn't a deal-breaker. Their awkward conversation is cut short by a phone call, and as the guy answers, she overhears a question on the other end about the location of some Sun Ji-hee. The guy abruptly bolts from his seat and leaves, leaving the girl in complete shock at his behavior and how much he just spooked her. She watches him go, wondering where on earth he could be rushing off to, and figures it must have been a really urgent call. Suddenly, she spots his wallet on the floor, sees the name Oh Hyun-do on his ID, and without a second thought, she dashes after him to return it. Running out onto the street, she stops to catch her breath, cursing herself for even chasing after this weird guy, and decides to just give the wallet to the staff. At that very moment, a familiar voice behind her asks how she ended up here and, turning around, she sees her ex, frozen in shock. She eavesdrops and realizes he's not alone. Some woman is having it out with him, and our hero realizes it would be best for her to just fucking leave. The girl throws it in his face that she only ever dated him out of pity, not because she actually loved him. She goes on, saying she can't do this anymore because she's not his personal charity fund. The guy is absolutely pissed off by her behavior. He tells her to stop pretending she doesn't understand and asks point-blank what she wants, because it's time for them to go their separate ways. The girl watching all of this mentally tells herself to stop being so clingy, clutching her phone tightly in her hand. She calls out to Hyun-do, insisting that he already knows she's ready to be by his side, and that she believes one day he'll tell her he loves her again. He admits that maybe he would have done that in the past, but now he has zero desire to even pretend that he loves her. The guy is tired of faking a love that died long ago and adds sarcastically that she got what she wanted, so she could at least say thank you. Suddenly, something shiny falls from his hands, and he abruptly turns and walks away. For the girl who watched this all go down, he turned out to be the worst type of person, the kind who cheats on his partner and shamelessly lies about love. And this guy, as it turns out, is her ex, the one she dated for 6 whole years. This entire scene forces her to remember the past. She cries, realizing he never cared and there was no love between them. And now she's tormented by a question. Did he only decide to marry her because she helped him? Snapping back to reality, she can't understand how anyone could consider that bullshit a form of gratitude, and she's furious that she didn't just end things with that asshole right then and there. Watching him walk away, she wonders if she herself would be better off if she had acted differently back then. She suddenly comes to her senses with the thought, what the hell did I just do? And finds herself in some room where girls are discussing someone's upcoming performance. Some girl is looking for Yumin and finds her at a table. Right at the moment she's asking her companion if he's tried the local food. Yumin's friend has no idea who she's talking to, while a blonde guy nearby is in shock that the girl he was just watching, as it turns out, wasn't alone. The guy panics and apologizes to a girl he accidentally bumped into, explaining he was distracted by his friend, but she reassures him that it's okay. The girl finds the guy cute, while our protagonist, meanwhile, is already asking him if he's friends with that guy. He shyly confirms they're friends, and while our hero wonders if he's single, his friend is already playing matchmaker, declaring that her pal is single, too. The blonde guy blurts out that he's single too and shyly asks if that's a good thing for them, which completely stuns the girl. She has no idea why he'd suddenly start flirting with her. She mulls over the fact that the guy looks younger than her and wonders if that would be okay, but their awkward moment is interrupted by a sudden noise that startles them both. They look utterly bewildered in the direction of the noise only to find that their friends have simply vanished. Turns out, the guy dragged her somewhere and is now laying into her with questions, demanding to know what the hell she's doing and why she was following him. She tries to make some clumsy excuses but admits to herself that even though he's being a total dick, he's right. And now she's in deep shit for losing her cool over words that weren't even meant for her. He presses her, asking if she was filming him, and when she denies everything, he asks her point blank why she was following him around like a rat. She panics, trying to justify that she did nothing wrong, and turns the tables on him, asking if he saw what she threw, which it turns out was his wallet. Suddenly, his ex appears and chews him out for calling the person who returned his wallet a rat, but by the time they're done arguing, the girl has already managed to escape. He assumes that girl probably just didn't know who he was with, then apologizes, admitting that he completely misunderstood the situation. He manages to find her anyway to thank her for the wallet, but she refuses any reward and mentally begs him to just go away, while he just adds that her method of returning it was rather unique. He asks with an attitude if she always returns things by chucking them at the back of people's heads, and she's screaming in her head that he's the one who pissed her off, so yeah, she threw it. She decides not to do anything else stupid and still wants to give him a piece of her mind, but ultimately concludes that she should just apologize, explaining she just wanted to return the wallet quickly. The girl asks if it hurt badly and apologizes, but he can see that she doesn't regret what she did one single bit. She decides it's time to bail now that the apologies are out of the way, but he suddenly declares that he's going too, forcing her to awkwardly suggest they head back together. Meanwhile, back at the venue they left, some singer is thanking the crowd, and the blonde guy is telling the hero's friend about his little shop, promising her some perks after the renovation. Our hero returns to her friend Ji-hee, who immediately jumps on her with questions about where she's been, but the girl promises to tell her everything after she's had a glass of water. After an awkward greeting, during which Ji-hee realizes the guys came back together, she announces that she and her friend are just going to quickly grab some drinks. Ji-hee drags her friend aside and demands she immediately spill on what she was doing with that guy, but her friend shoots her down, insisting that it was nothing like that. She explains that she simply returned the guy's dropped wallet, leaving out all the other events, while at the same time, his friend is asking if that's really all that happened. The friend presses Hyun, interrogating him about what he was doing with that Nuna, but Hyun grimly cuts him off, asking if he was the one who posted on social media that they came together. The blonde guy panics, asking Hyun if he saw his post, and immediately apologizes, saying he only just noticed he was in the shot. All Hyun can think is, how the hell did his friend even find out about the photo? Hyun announces that he's leaving. His friend doesn't get why he even came back in the first place, and tries to convince him to stay for a drink with the girls, since his shop is closed anyway. While our hero enjoys her drink, Hyun cuts his friend off, saying he's not interested and just leaves. The scene changes and now we see a car driving through the city at night, as the driver announces that they're in the Seokon district. The driver asks her how long she plans on wearing that, and she's surprised to realize she's still wearing a cap, making the excuse that she was just lost in thought. The girl takes off the cap and points decisively forward. The driver asks if she managed to talk to Hyun-do since she was gone for a while, to which she says yes, but in her opinion he needs a little more time. She complains that he keeps saying hurtful things to her, but the driver notes that she doesn't seem to mind, and suggests that maybe Hyun-do wasn't being sincere. The girl is certain she'd believe those nasty things from anyone else, but Hyun-do won't abandon her, and she's convinced he's waiting for her call even now. The driver thinks to himself what a ridiculously self-assured woman she is and pities poor Hyun-do. He then asks what she was so lost in thought about, but gets only silence in response. He furiously interrogates her, demanding to know who did this, while the girl panics, wondering if it's those same haters who wanted to keep terrorizing her. The girl decides that whoever he is, it's better to avoid him and contact Hyun-do later, but she immediately freezes when she sees him with another woman. Looking at this seemingly ordinary girl, it suddenly dawns on her that the girl wasn't stalking her, but Hyun-do. She decides that it doesn't matter now, while at that very moment, someone bursts violently into an apartment. While Hyun-do is sitting silently at home, he gets a call from that same stalker, who informs him that she's already nearby. It's freezing outside and the girl on the phone says she'll wait right there until he comes out. He's furious with himself, unable to believe he's rushing out like an idiot at her beck and call, and decides he's never answering her calls again. He makes a firm decision not to come running at her every whim anymore, but in that same second, a new message lands on his phone. He immediately bolts from his seat and with a serious expression, starts typing something furiously on his phone. He curses under his breath because some idiot named Lee Tae-gun is texting him at the worst possible time, telling him to come over and bragging about some interesting photo he has. He silently stares at that interesting photo, then zooms in to get a closer look at the face of one of the girls. The face of the girl who hit him seems familiar, and he racks his brain, trying to remember if she ever came to his shop. Hyun-do decides it doesn't matter if she's a customer or not, because he'll never cross paths with her again, or so he thought. Meanwhile, someone posts online that they're heading home from work, and in the comments, someone else replies that they've prepared a late-night snack. Someone decides to see how Hyun-do is doing and starts searching for him on social media, scrolling through the feed of the Siesta Bar restaurant. The character muses that Hyun-do usually has no updates, since he's always busy with sports and the restaurant, so the only one who could have a surprise is Director Seokon. Director Seokon hesitates on whether to send a message, but then remembers he promised to bring in a new stylist, who at that very moment is being introduced to Ha-jae. The new employee with an expressive voice and the girl exchange hopes for a good working relationship, after which she prepares to leave, and Ha-jae offers to walk her out. Some other girl still can't believe what's happening. The whole situation feels completely unreal to her. She thinks about how surprised Uni will be. While someone texts Hyundu that he must be busy and asks when he's going to tell her where he moved. He scoffs, amazed at her sheer audacity, and texts back that she can come to the cafe if she has business with him. He decides there's no point in it, since he already suggested they break up, but then he pauses and wonders, maybe he should be the one to go to the cafe. On the way he thinks about how agonizing waiting is, and you only realize it when you're the one who can't get in touch with someone. Suddenly something distracts him. He sees kittens on the street and is immediately charmed. He loves animals so much, and he starts taking pictures of them. Out of nowhere, Kang Tae-gun calls him, and he annoyedly states that he's hanging up if it's not important, but the other guy insists that he listen. While two friends are having lunch, one of them asks in a fury who the other invited to dinner at Tae-gun's place, only to hear that he got permission. She explains that the cafe officially opens in a few days, but he wanted to treat her beforehand. Her friend then remembers that the guy is the director. She doesn't even want to see him, so when her friend invites her to a restaurant nearby, she refuses and suggests her friend go alone. Her friend immediately guesses that something happened between her and that guy and declares that's the real reason she doesn't want to go, even though she denies everything. The friend suggests she just can't get over her ex, which pisses her off. While back at the restaurant, Tae-gun is already welcoming his early guests. The girl reluctantly shows up because her friend finally managed to convince her, and her friend is already gushing over the beautiful, newly renovated interior. She holds out a gift, since she couldn't come empty-handed, and awkwardly realizes that she never even imagined a meeting like this. She congratulates him on the opening, handing him a small gift, and after thanking her, he mentions that it's red wine. He invites the girls to sit down, and while they're choosing a table, Tae-gun is rushing someone to get everything in order. The girl suddenly realizes that this place is close to her company and that asshole's house, and she starts to worry that he might walk by. She asks herself what the hell she's even expecting. At the exact moment beautifully decorated dishes are served, sparking delight all around. She takes a bite of the food and freezes in utter amazement, while her friends are already raving about how incredibly delicious everything is. Tae-gun boasts that they have a lot of customers thanks to word of mouth, and at that very moment, Hyundu wishes the girl bon appetit. She realizes, much to her surprise, that he's an amazing cook, and decides that talent and personality aren't always connected, so she's just going to keep eating. Tae-gun asks if it's okay to post their gifts online, and suggests Hyundu follow him back, but Hyundu just replies that social media isn't really his thing. The girl thinks about deleting her own page, complaining about annoying exes, and Tae-gun advises her to just block all of them right after a breakup. She wonders why her exes were never this active during the actual relationship, while Hyundu thinks it's a good thing if they finally came to their senses after it was over. Tae-gun shares a story about an ex who spread hurtful rumors, and Hyundu suggests that her paradoxical behavior is just an echo of a love that hasn't faded yet. He realizes that some people can't be honest because of their own pride, and at that moment, it dawns on him that he can finally understand Hong Seo-chan's actions. He recognizes that her shameless confidence that he would come back to her was just a bluff, and that she can't be honest even after the breakup. One of the girls doesn't understand what suddenly got into the guy, while her friend Ji awkwardly starts a conversation, saying she's just curious about something. She asks how long after a breakup exes usually show up again, and in response, she hears that it's been as soon as 3 weeks, and sometimes as long as 3 months. She adds, however, that most of them never contacted her at all, but her friend immediately chimes in that there's a surefire way to make an ex text you. Her friend shares the secret. All you have to do is show how happy you are with someone else. Later that evening, that same girl thinks about what a wonderful dinner it was. On their way out, they promise to bring more friends next time. And as Tae-gun calls everyone over to the taxi that just arrived, his companion worries that Yumin hasn't left yet. The group splits up into separate taxis, since some are heading the same way, one is walking, and another's home is in a completely different direction. One of the friends asks Hyundu to take care of Yumin, after which he suggests they walk to the main road to catch a cab there. The whole way, Yumin could only think about one thing: how he was doing, and how he would react when he saw her happy and with another man. She couldn't shake the thought that he wasn't even angry when she dumped him so brutally. Maybe he just doesn't give a shit whether she's having fun with someone else or not. Suddenly, the guy asks how she's feeling, while at the same time, another girl is thinking that she just got too nervous at her first company party. Her companion reassures her that she shouldn't worry so much, But the girl scolds herself for her stupid behavior because of the alcohol, while Yumin, in utter shock, can't believe her eyes. She's in a stupor, because right in front of her, at the worst possible moment, her ex-boyfriend appears, and the scene immediately flashes back 13 years. In the past, a friend asks a young Yumin if she can see his face, but she can't make anything out, so Jihee suggests they get closer. A rumor ripples through the crowd of high school girls that some guy has arrived, and everyone is instantly dying to get a look at him. Jihee doesn't understand what all the commotion is about, when suddenly other girls start whispering in awe that this handsome guy is the son of the Korean teacher. The story snaps back to the present, and Yumin realizes in a panic that the person walking towards her really is Kim Lee-seon, her ex from the past. She doesn't know what to do. Even though she wanted to run into him, she's completely unprepared right now, and there's absolutely nowhere to hide. Hyun-do, it seems, has figured it all out. He thinks that there's nowhere to hide, but then he finds a solution and abruptly pulls a stunned Yumin towards him. The girl panics, deciding she needs to hide immediately, and the next moment, she's burying her face, hugging her companion tightly. This sudden maneuver attracts the attention of that same couple, and the girl whispers to the deputy manager to look at what's happening behind them. Her ex's companion coos about what a great couple they make, while Hyun-do urges Yumin to get the hell out of there fast. He furiously demands she let go, screaming that they're standing way too close, but she begs him to forgive her and just stand like this for one more minute. The girl insists she had no other choice and pleads with him to shut up, or else she's going to puke from anxiety right now. Hiding her face on his shoulder, she suddenly asks if he has a girlfriend, and Hyun-do calmly replies that yes, he does. When the other couple finally leaves, he coldly asks Yumin if she's done and if they can go now. He demands she remove her hand, but she's lost in the memory of their 6-year relationship, and at that moment, Hyun-do gets a very, very bad feeling. In despair, she can't understand how her ex could have started a new relationship in just 3 months. Even though she was harsh when they broke up, she had her reasons. While the girl is lamenting how he could have just forgotten 6 years so easily, an exhausted Hyun-do asks her point-blank if he was the reason she suddenly hugged him. She awkwardly apologizes and admits she had nowhere to hide, but he reasonably points out that she didn't need to hide, because she didn't do anything wrong. His question stumps her, and she herself doesn't understand why she hid, especially since she had imagined their accidental reunion with her ex so many times. She curses herself for preparing so much for this encounter, only to have her subconscious make her hide the moment her ex actually appeared. The truth is, she instinctively avoided the meeting because she was afraid to realize that she still had feelings for him. Hyun-do says that instead of hiding, she should have just said hello. That way, Lee-seon might have thought she had a new boyfriend. It suddenly hits her that she missed a golden opportunity. A chance to run into her ex so perfectly, and with a guy by her side might never happen again. Hyun-do wearily cuts off her self-pity, saying it's time to clean up and leave, and she guiltily agrees with him. She's horribly embarrassed. She drank too much and caused so much trouble, so they walk the rest of the way in complete silence. She can't figure out if he's a kind person or just completely indifferent, especially when she remembers how calmly he reacted to her audacity in the alley. She admits to herself that she has no fucking clue what kind of person he is, since he remained calm even when she was practically threatening him. His words about how she should have just said hello spark an idea. All she needs to do is fulfill the have a boyfriend present condition for her reunion with her ex. Mustering up her courage, she suddenly asks if he's seeing anyone, and if not, she proposes they see each other sometimes on her dime. He immediately figures out that she's not flirting, but suggesting they pretend to be a couple, and she confirms it, saying there just aren't any suitable guys in her circle. However, the girl immediately realizes this is a problem. She doesn't actually need this, and he's never going to fall in love with her either. Suddenly, her head starts pounding from all the alcohol, and she collapses to the ground, but he just coldly commands her to get up. Seeing no reaction, he says indifferently that he'll just go alone then, and simply turns and walks away, leaving her sitting on the asphalt. But at the last second, he changes his mind, whips back around and looming over her, asks point-blank what she can offer him in return. He repeats his question about what she can offer in return, and when she suggests money, he replies that he has plenty of his own. The guy declares that in that case, he'll be using her too, and the scene immediately flashes back 5 years into the past. In the flashback, a young Hyun-do is cleaning the house and cooking for himself, clearly exhausted by the domestic chores. Then, he quietly enters the bedroom of a sleeping girl and gently sits beside her, looking at her with care. Waking up, she jokingly calls him her little housewife, but he seriously asks her not to act that way with other people. In response, she playfully bites his finger, to which he jokingly threatens to bite her back because he's hungry too. The girl laughingly agrees to get up, since he's made doenjang jjigae which, according to her, smells delicious. The story returns to the present, where the next day, Yumin is practically dying at her desk from a vicious hangover. Her colleague is worried and offers to buy her some medicine, but she refuses, thinking that mixing wine with soju was a huge mistake. Her friend is surprised, asking why on earth she mixed her drinks, but then immediately bites her tongue, realizing she just accidentally let it slip. The colleague timidly asks if the protagonist was drinking last night, but another one immediately jumps in, accusing her of getting drunk with men on a double-blind date. One of the employees sarcastically wonders why she's forcing everyone to listen to her private conversations, and at that moment, a message from Oh Hyundu arrives on her phone, suggesting they meet. Half an hour later, she's on her way to meet him, reflecting that waiting for death is truly worse than death itself. She thinks that she has to make up for yesterday somehow, and spotting him in the cafe, she's puzzled as to why he sat in the far corner when there were so many empty seats. Approaching the nervous guy, who immediately looks up at her, she politely asks if she made him wait long. He nervously replies that he wasn't waiting for very long, and immediately suggests she sit down while he goes to get their drinks. She stares after him, completely dumbfounded, unable to understand how he could go get drinks without even asking for her order when her stomach is killing her. He hands her a cup of warm tea, and after thanking him, she thinks with relief that at least it's not coffee. He asks if she got home okay, remembering how at the end of the night, she was trying to stuff him into a taxi while he was demanding she make a promise. She timidly asks if she said any drunken nonsense yesterday, to which he sharply puts down his cup and tells her not to worry about it. He suggests they just pretend to be a couple, like they discussed, which leaves her in a stupor because she definitely did not expect this outcome. She stammers that she wanted to write it all off as drunken nonsense, but the guy declares that he'll be using her too, and then says her name, Choyuna. She realizes he was being completely sincere yesterday, and since she's on board, he's ready to explain his plan in detail. His plan is to make one specific person see her happy with another man, and since that person lives near her cafe, they'll have to meet there every week. It won't be hard. All they have to do is have lunch, take walks, and go to cafes, coordinating the time and place beforehand. Yuna's plan was nothing more than an escape from reality, because she simply couldn't admit to herself that she wasn't loved. And even though she was the one who dumped him, she still desperately wanted to see even a hint of regret on his face. She couldn't give a damn about his circumstances or Hyundu's plan, but now it was his turn to talk. He informs her that he'll be taking pictures of her at every meeting and posting them on social media, to which she replies with surprise that she doesn't have an account. He declares that he'll just create an account for her, and when she asks if that's really all, he confirms that nothing else is needed. He hopes that his very existence will be enough to get to a certain Seo-chan, while she, at the same time, is thinking how simple this all is. All his hope rests on this, while she replays it in her head. He's going to create an account and post pictures of a girl on it. She wonders if he has the same goal as her, to get revenge on an ex, that same girl from the alley, but she doubts he'd answer if she asked. She suggests meeting on Sundays or at night, and while he's wondering why she's looking at him like that, she's already agreeing to draw up a schedule and asking about the time frame. She asks again how long this will last, since she herself hadn't thought about when to stop, and jokingly suggests, until we get the desired reaction. He plays along with the joke and proposes a 2-month term, after which they agree to start this Sunday and say their goodbyes until then. Just as they're about to part ways, he suddenly stops her. He notes that she's aware she didn't make the best first impression, but she just thanks him for accepting her stupid proposal. He thinks she's beautiful when she smiles, and they shake hands with the mutual thought that Seo-chan needs to find out about this as soon as possible. Meanwhile, at Café Siesta, some blonde guy in a tracksuit is sitting around, humming to himself and glued to his phone. The blonde guy rereads his texts from yesterday with Jihinuna, lamenting that he shouldn't have written that, because he's acting way too childish. He decides that to win over an older woman, he needs to act more mature, but just then, Yumin catches him off guard, which scares the hell out of the blonde guy. Yumin explains he came to clean up before the opening and suggests they work on the menu while they're at it, but the blonde guy suddenly says he's been wanting to ask something. He asks point blank if Yumin Hyung has a girlfriend, because he's been acting strange lately, constantly disappearing during his breaks. The blonde guy suggests it's Jihinuna, and right then he gets a notification that Yumin has followed him, which leaves him utterly surprised. The blonde guy doesn't let up, amazed that this is all because of a girl, and bombards Yumin with questions about her until he's ordered to back the fuck off and go cook. Later that evening, an exhausted Yumin returns to his apartment. He remembers being interrogated by his colleagues and decides that even on his deathbed, He won't tell the blonde guy about meeting Hong Seo-chan, after which he collapses onto the sofa in exhaustion. Memories flash through his mind, where Seo-chan is either screaming at someone on a screen or demanding he stop stalking her. He decides not to put it off and immediately texts Yuna, apologizing and suggesting they start their little adventure tomorrow. Before sending his reply, a scene from the drama flashes in his mind again, where Seo-chan wanted to ask him something. He remembers her asking if he loves her and at the same time hates her. She didn't understand why he was treating her this way and asked if it was because of his own conflicting feelings. At the same time, Yuna is watching that very same drama, and as she's pondering the strange plot, she suddenly gets his reply. Seeing two messages, first an informal one, then a polite one, she figures he just made a typo and starts planning the details of their meeting. The next day, on Sunday, she's already at their meeting spot and glancing at her watch, she's getting nervous that he still hasn't shown up. She's just about to text him when someone abruptly grabs her from behind, yelling the name, Choi Jimin. It turned out to be Hyun-do, who had scared her, and after learning he arrived early, she suggests they take a walk first and then go to the restaurant. He calmly notes that if they go straight, they'll reach the cafe. But the noisy street suddenly triggers a panic attack in her. A scream from the past flashes through her head, where she, wearing a mask, was demanding someone leave. And this memory seems to hit Hyun-do himself. She declares that they're not just walking around here for no reason and that she'll explain everything now, indifferently noting to herself that something's wrong with his face. He voices her plan out loud, that this street with the cafes is the most popular spot for dates, but then immediately suggests they go somewhere else, and she realizes the whole day is shot. Nevertheless, she decides not to give up, figuring that if they keep this up, they're bound to run into him at least once in these 2 months. The area is full of couples in love. Someone suggests taking pictures in a photo booth, another couple is getting acquainted on a blind date, and friends are discussing expensive hairstyles. They keep walking through the laughter and romantic chaos, but the girl is overcome by a powerful feeling of discomfort. She remembers how everything seemed fun and joyful when she was with Kim Yi-seon, but her thoughts on human feelings are interrupted by a sudden fall. He panics and lunges to catch her, and to keep her steady, he abruptly grabs her right by the face, creating an awkward and loud scene for the whole street to see. The air fills with the whispers of onlookers, and burning with shame, she thinks she would have rather just fallen than be frozen in such a mortifying pose. At the restaurant, a friendly hostess greets them, and the guy replies that it's a table for two, while she still looks disheveled and is in a complete daze. He had been apologizing the whole way there, and asks for forgiveness again for grabbing her face, but she assures him he shouldn't, because he helped her. She assures him that everything is fine, but privately, she's still worried about the handprint on her face. Just then, her phone on the table starts to vibrate. She answers a call from her sister, who's with her brother at that moment, asking what he's up to which he replies that he's cleaning. His sister asks if he's planning on coming home, and reminds him that their father forbade him from returning until he brings Yumin Uni back. He takes this as great news, because if he can't go home, they'll have to meet up outside, and his sister suggests they bring their father along sometime. Meanwhile, her companion at the restaurant, having overheard the conversation, looks genuinely terrified and snaps his head around. While the guy at the table remembers telling a girl she looked beautiful in a photo, she's staring in horror at the mark his hand left on her face in the mirror. She reflects that he didn't grab her face on purpose, it was purely instinctual, and she blames herself, since she was the one who almost fell because of her stupid thoughts. She decides she can't be mad at someone who helped her, but then panics, thinking this would have been the absolute worst moment for Kim Yi-seon to have been among the passers-by. Returning from the restroom, she sees his intense stare and asks with surprise what's wrong. She gets a sense of déjà vu seeing him in a dark corner, and doesn't understand why he chose a seat in the shadows when the spots by the windows were completely free. She walks up to the table and, after asking if he waited long, immediately orders for them from the waitress who approaches, choosing a pasta and one other dish. He's worried her face still hurts, but she cheerfully assures him the mark is gone, though he still asks her to let him know if something feels wrong. She asks if he created the social media account and what his username is, wondering how his ex is supposed to know it's him without a profile picture. Then she suggests they take just one picture, mentioning that she's taken photos of many friends, but he flatly refuses because he hates having his picture taken. She agrees that that's that, and at that moment, the waitress brings their order and wishes them a nice meal. He asks if she needs to take a photo for proof, and as she starts snapping pictures of the food, he offers to move back to give her more room. She shows him the photo with their faces cut out, and he says it's okay to post it, while she thinks to herself that this feels like a real date. He passes her a dish, she thanks him, and after that, a complete and awkward silence falls over the table. While he eats calmly, She suddenly breaks the silence by saying his name, Hyun-do. She asks him to look at her and say something, because it's obvious to everyone around them that their table is the most boring one in the whole place. Is this how a happy girl is supposed to look? She demands, arguing that otherwise, they're just two people having a meal. But all he notices is that she looks flustered. She promises to instantly put on a happy face if he just says a single word, but all he can think is, why is she trying so damn hard? Fighting his hesitation, he finally decides to speak and, getting her attention, he says he'd like to talk about yesterday. She immediately snaps into character, asking with wide-eyed surprise about yesterday, forcing him to remind her that she wanted to show her ex how happy she was with another man. She laughs, asking if she didn't look too pathetic, but he cuts to the chase with a direct question. What reaction is she expecting from her ex? For him to dump his new girlfriend and come back to her? She honestly admits that she was hoping he'd come back, but if not, she'd be satisfied with him just realizing what he lost and regretting it. He mentally notes her honesty. He clenches his fist, thinking that she's different from the others, but then she hits him with a question of her own. Doesn't he want to get back together with his ex? She decides the answer to her question is obvious, but he ignores it and asks what happens if her ex doesn't contact her within the 2 months. He continues the thought, asking what if her ex doesn't contact her even after seeing her with someone else, and that's exactly why she shouldn't try so hard. She dejectedly agrees that their efforts in this whole charade don't really matter that much. As evening falls over the city outside the window, they leave the restaurant to the hostess's farewell, and on the street the girl tells him, see you later. As he rides the bus, he remembers that right up until their breakup, Yumin never showed much of a reaction. He wasn't trying to provoke her just to get some kind of reaction. He simply got angry for a moment. He realizes that she's also clinging to the slightest possibility, and you could call it a feeling of disgust for someone who is so much like yourself. A sudden meow interrupts his thoughts, and he's surprised to see Hyun-do in front of him, petting a cat.